Hello, Class 6 students. Today we are going to study the textbook from page 67 to page 69. This will be the last theory lesson for the final exam. Okay. Uh, the title is Tips for Powerful Languages. So today's lesson will be start from the principle of simplicity. Uh, in your informative speech, your message should be simple. Okay. Uh, think of. Please remember the KISS simple. KISS principle. KISS principle means keep it simple and sweet. Okay, so uh, it is a good idea to make your message simple. Okay, and the next one is clarity. Please state your information clearly. Okay, there are many ways of making your speech clear. So please look at the examples of page 67 in the middle. Analogies, vivid descriptions, word pictures. I will explain one by one. Okay, if you want to tell your listeners about a complex process, you will need more than definitions to explain what you mean. Okay, research suggests that you can demystify. Or what's the meaning of demystify? Make it clear, make it easier to understand. Okay, you can demystify a complex process if you first provide a simple overview of the process with an analogy, a vivid description, a word picture. I will explain one by one. Use analogy. If a speaker were to say, the Milky Way galaxy is big, you'd have a vague idea, not clear idea about the stars and the space material that make up the Milky Way. Because Milky Way was large, Milky Way is very big, but you don't have a clear understanding of that. But if the speaker said, if the Milky Way galaxy were as big as the continent of North America, our solar system, then our solar system would fit inside a coffee cup. If you say that, you'd have a better idea of just how big the Milky Way is. By comparison, how small our solar system is. Okay, so an analogy is a comparison of the two things. It's an especially useful technique for describing complex process because it can help someone understand something difficult to grasp. In this example, the size of the Milky Way, because you cannot grasp the idea of the size of the Milky Way, but by comparing it to something already understood. In this example, the size of a coffee cup, you can understand better. Okay, this is an example of an analogy. Okay, the next one is vivid description. Please use vivid description. When you describe, you provide more detail than you do when you define something. Using descriptive terms that brings a process to life is especially effective when you want to clarify something that is complex. Okay, that means a descriptive expression, descriptive terms can be very effective for making your speech clear. Descriptions answer questions about the who, what, where, why, and when of the process. Okay, who, what, when, where, why, how. Okay, who is involved in the process? what is the process, idea, or event that you want to describe? Where and when does the process take place? What does it occur? Or why is it important to the audience? If you provide the description of this question, you can provide a clear message, clear ideas to the audience. Okay, the next one is use a word picture. A word picture is a lively description that helps your listeners form a mental image by appealing to their senses of sight, taste, smell, sound, and touch. So you can trigger their senses of sight, taste, smell, sound, and touch. Okay, to create an effective word picture, you might want to form your own clear mental image of the person, place, or object before you try to describe it. Okay, please see it with your mind's eyes. Or use your mind's eye. So you can ask yourself that what would the listener see if he or she were looking at it, or what would the listeners hear, or if they could touch it, how would it feel to them, or if your listeners could smell or taste it, what would that be? What would that be like? Okay, if you give or if you provide the answers of these kinds of questions, you can make a clear message to the audience. Okay, so to describe these sensations, choose the most specific and vivid words possible. Okay, then please look at the page. Look at the bottom of the page 67. Active language. The use of active language creates more immediate and more powerful language. What does that mean? Look at the example. Toyota sold 2 million cars last year versus 2 million cars were sold by Toyota last year. Which one is better? Yes, the first one. Toyota sold 2 million cars last year because it's an active sentence, active language. So active language is better than the passive ones. Okay, please use active languages. Please move on to the next page, page 68. Specificity. So you might want to be more specific with your information. Please look at the example. Instead of a lot of people die of hunger every year, you might want to use the sentence, one of every 30 people die of hunger worldwide every 30 minutes. Because the later sentence is uh, the, uh, uh, the second sentence give more detailed, more specific images to the audience. So please be specific in your information. Okay. Next, compare and contrast principle. Okay, comparison is a compare between the similarities, and contrast between the compare the different things. So if you use the method of comparison, your sentence, your speech, your message will be very more effective. Okay, look at the example. This is the example of comparison. A contrast is the example of a contrast. Lots of people think that pigs are dirty animals. However, there are recent studies that suggest that pigs are very clean. So, if you use this comparison method, in this case, the contrast principle, contrast method, you can give a more clear message or a more vivid message to the audience. Okay, next, illustrations. When presenting about difficult topic, use examples, analogies, stories to help introduce and explain concept. Okay, look at the example. The progress of a nation's economy is sort of like the bank books of a business. Okay, uh, many of the audience cannot grasp the progress of a nation's economy, but in this case, uh, the speaker compare the progress of a nation's economy to the bank books of a business. So you can easily guess the meaning of bank books. So this sentence can be the effective way of illustration. Okay. Uh, then signpost. Signpost means signpost signify where your speech is going next. That means a signpost indicates what you are going to say next. Okay. This time, please move on to the page 69. We'll have a very easy activity for training the signpost. Okay. If you look at the box on the top, there are several functions of a signpost: analyzing a point and giving a recommendation, finishing one subject, giving an example, introducing the subject, sequencing, moving on to a new subject, summarizing, and concluding. Okay. Anyway, I will give you 1 or 2 minutes. Please write the function on the left column. Okay, do you understand? Please write the correct function of the examples on the left column in the blank. Okay, I will give 2 minutes. Okay, let's do it together. I'd like to start by, let's begin by, first of all, I will begin by, which function do you think? Yes, introducing the subject. Okay, next. We've looked at, well, I've told you about. That's all I have to say about. Which function? Right, finishing one subject. Next. I'd now like to discuss. Turning to blah blah blah. Now we'll move on to, let me now turn to, let's now look at which function? Right, moving on to a new subject. Okay, next. Where does that lead us? Let's consider this in more detail. What does this mean for ABC? Then which function? Okay, analyzing a point and giving a recommendation. Okay, next, for example, a good example of this is, as an illustration, to give you an example, to illustrate this point, which functions are used? Okay, giving an example function. Next, in conclusion, let's sum up, shall we? I'd now like to recap. Recap means summarize. Let's briefly summarize what we've looked at. Finally, let me remind you of some of the issues we've covered. Finally, let me remind you some of the issues we've covered. The same sentence. If I can just sum up the main points, then which function? Okay, summarizing and concluding function is used. Last one. Firstly, secondly, thirdly, lastly. First of all, then, next, after that, finally. To start with, later, to finish up. Okay, the function is sequencing. Okay, this is the end of theory lesson of today, and you are going to move on to the speech analysis about the risky situation of ocean. Okay, the speech analysis will be included for your final exam. Okay, please study harder. Thank you.